The question in Florida tonight is what to do with Tilikum after killing a young trainer at Sealand of the Pacific in Oak Bay in 1991.
The horrifying last moments of Seaworld trainer Keltie Byrne. She was young, fearless, and deeply passionate about the ocean's most mysterious giants. But in a matter of minutes, what started as a normal day turned into one of the most horrifying tragedies in marine park history. This isn't just a story about a trainer and a killer whale. It's a chilling glimpse into what happens when wild power is caged for human amusement. On Nature's Last Call, we uncover the truth behind what really happened that day, a truth that many tried to keep buried. The death of Keltie Byrne wasn't an accident. It was a warning the world chose to ignore until it was too late. But before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. Now, let's get started. Who was Keltie Byrne? Keltie Byrne was no ordinary woman. A vibrant 20-year-old competitive swimmer and student at the University of Victoria, she had a deep love for animals and the ocean. In 1991, she took a job at the Sealand of the Pacific, a marine park located in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Her job involved caring for and feeding the park's killer whales, orcas, one of the biggest attractions for visitors. Known for her confidence in the water and her athleticism, Keltie quickly became comfortable working around these massive creatures. But behind the scenes, concerns about the orca's behavior were already beginning to surface. The captive giants of Sealand. At Sealand, 3 orcas were held in a small concrete pool. Tilikum, a 12,000-pound male orca captured from the wild near Iceland in 1983, and 2 females, Haida 2 and Nootka 4. All 3 whales had been brought to the facility as attractions. But what many didn't know was that their environment was far from ideal. The tank was small, the whales had limited space to swim, and their natural social behaviors were disrupted.
The issue was really that we stored these whales at night in what we call a module, and the lights were all turned out. So there's really no stimulation. They're just in this dark metal 20-foot by 30-foot pool.
Tilikum, the largest of them, was often bullied by the 2 female whales. Trainers observed frequent scaring and aggression, particularly toward him. When orcas live in the wild, they swim up to 100 miles a day. In captivity, they circle small pools and perform for audiences a drastic change from their natural behaviors. The psychological toll of this confinement is something many experts believe led to unpredictable and dangerous actions. February 20, 1991. The day of the incident. It was just another day at Sealand. Keltie had completed a routine show where the whales performed tricks and delighted spectators. As the crowds left, she stayed behind to clean and take care of her duties. What happened next would shock not just Canada, but the entire marine park industry. While walking along a slippery walkway near the whale pool, Keltie accidentally slipped and fell into the water. At first, it may have seemed like a minor accident. Trainers had been in the pool before, and the whales had participated in countless shows. But what happened next was chilling. A predatory game turned deadly. Witnesses said that as soon as Keltie entered the water, the 3 orcas, particularly Tilikum, began circling her. Instead of helping her out, they grabbed her, dragged her underwater, and took turns pushing her around the pool. Her coworkers tried everything, throwing life rings, yelling commands, and attempting to distract the whales. But nothing worked. Keltie resurfaced briefly, crying out, "I don't want to die." A heart-stopping moment seared into the memory of those who heard her. It was the last time she was seen alive. For nearly 10 minutes, the whales toyed with her, pulling her under again and again. Despite the desperate efforts of the staff, Keltie drowned. Her body couldn't be recovered until the whales were finally corralled into a separate pen. The aftermath and cover-up. News of the tragedy spread quickly, but Seaworld, who had bought Tilikum and was a major player in the marine entertainment industry, moved fast to manage the narrative. Sealand of the Pacific closed its doors permanently just months after the attack, stating that it was in the best interest of the animals. But behind closed doors, Seaworld had other plans. They purchased Tilikum and transferred him to their facility in Orlando, Florida. Despite his role in Keltie's death, Tilikum was used as a breeding whale, fathering more than 20 calves. He was kept mostly out of performances due to concerns about safety, but his reputation was already stained with darkness. Seaworld and others in the marine park industry never publicly acknowledged the full extent of what happened. The story of Keltie Byrne faded from public view until tragedy struck again. History repeats. The death of Dawn Brancho. In 2010, almost 2 decades later, Tilikum attacked and killed Dawn Brancho, a senior Seaworld trainer, in front of a live audience in Orlando. This incident shocked the world and brought renewed attention to Tilikum's past and to the forgotten death of Keltie Byrne. Dawn's death led to the explosive documentary Blackfish, which revealed the truth behind the scenes of marine parks, Orca Captivity, and the psychological toll taken on both animals and trainers. Keltie Byrne's story was finally brought back into the spotlight as viewers learned that her death had been the first in a series of tragic warnings that had gone unheeded. The tragedy forced the world to confront uncomfortable truths about animal entertainment and corporate accountability. It sparked global outrage, pushing policymakers and the public to question how many more lives, human or orca, would be sacrificed before real change was made. Why Keltie's death wasn't just an accident. Some tried to write off Keltie's death as a terrible accident, a slip, a misunderstanding, a miscommunication between human and whale. But many marine biologists and former trainers have since argued that this was no accident. It was a result of frustration, confinement, and trauma. Tilikum wasn't naturally aggressive toward humans in the wild. Orcas are highly intelligent, emotionally complex creatures. But captivity alters behavior in ways scientists still don't fully understand. For a creature used to roaming open oceans, being kept in a tiny concrete enclosure can lead to psychological breakdowns. And when that trauma is ignored, the consequences can be deadly. The psychological toll on captive orcas. Captive orcas often display what researchers call stereotypic behaviors, repetitive movements like swimming in circles or banging their heads. These are signs of stress and mental distress. Tilikum, in particular, showed signs of long-term trauma and aggression. In the wild, orcas live in family groups and pass down knowledge and language through generations. They're social, caring, and have never been known to attack humans. But captivity changes that. Marine parks treat orcas as showpieces, teaching them tricks in exchange for food. These unnatural conditions erode their instincts and can lead to unpredictable, sometimes violent, behavior. Isolation from their pods and lack of mental stimulation further deepens their psychological suffering. Over time, these intelligent creatures can become withdrawn, depressed, or lash out in ways that are heartbreaking, but entirely preventable. Legacy of Keltie Byrne. Today, Keltie's name lives on in whispers, a young woman who died too soon, caught in a system that prized profit over safety. But her death wasn't in vain. Her story became one of the driving forces behind a global movement to end orca captivity. Thanks to documentaries like Blackfish, public sentiment began to shift. Attendance at Seaworld dropped. Protests intensified. Laws were passed in places like California banning orca breeding and performances. Seaworld announced in 2016 that it would end its orca breeding program and phase out theatrical shows. But for many, including Keltie's family, it was too little, too late. Her tragedy sparked a deeper conversation about the ethics of marine parks and our responsibility to the animals we claim to admire. Keltie became more than a victim, she became a symbol of change, etched into the conscience of a more aware generation. What can we learn from Keltie's story? Keltie Byrne was young, bright, and full of passion. She didn't sign up to die. She didn't know that she'd become a symbol not just of tragedy, but of transformation. Her story teaches us that even the most powerful corporations can't silence the truth forever. That no amount of entertainment is worth the cost of a human life or the misery of a wild animal stripped of its freedom. It's a reminder that nature, when disrespected, doesn't forget. If we forget Keltie Byrne, we forget the lessons paid for in blood. If we ignore the cries of orcas in concrete tanks, we ignore the voices of nature crying out for justice. At nature's last call, we honor the truth, the raw, uncomfortable, powerful truth that reminds us how far we've strayed from respect for the natural world. It's not too late to listen, but the time is now. If Keltie's story moved you, don't stay silent. Share this video, leave a comment in her memory, and subscribe to Nature's Last Call to uncover more forgotten stories where humans and nature collide. Let her name live on, not as a footnote in a corporation's history, but as a beacon for change.